You do this every day. You never question it. You feel thirsty, you reach for a bottle, you turn a tap. Water appears. Instant. Effortless. Guaranteed. But for 99% of human history, that simple act was impossible. There were no taps, no bottles, no maps that said here is water. And yet humans crossed the deadliest deserts on Earth, not by accident, by knowledge. Knowledge so precise, so secret it could mean life or death. Knowledge that we have completely forgotten. How did they do it? How did ancient humans find water where there was nothing? Look around you. Today, water finds you. Tomorrow, if the pipes broke, if your phone died, if you were dropped in the middle of a true desert, you would be dead in 3 days. You wouldn't know where to look. But they did. To understand how we have to unlearn what a desert is, we think a desert is empty. An ocean of sand with nothing in it. That is our biggest mistake. Ancient humans never saw a desert as empty. They saw it as a text, a library. Every ripple in the sand, every stone, every plant was a sentence telling them where water was hiding. This story starts not in a desert, but tens of thousands of years ago with the first trackers. Long before farming, long before cities, before writing itself, humans in Australia learned to read the land in a way that seems like magic to us now. The Aboriginal peoples of the Western Desert live in one of the harshest places on the planet. For them, water was never found by wandering. It was remembered. They created what they call song lines. Pathways of stories, songs and myths that stretch for hundreds of miles. A song isn't just a song, it is a map. A verse might describe the shape of the hill, the type of trees, and at the end of the verse, a hidden soak. A place where you dig beneath the sand and water appears. A child learns the song at age 5. At 50, that song can still save his life. The water isn't marked on a map. It is encoded in memory, passed down for thousands of generations. To an outsider, it is just singing. To them, it is survival technology. And this is just the beginning, because remembering water is one thing. Finding new water when you are lost is another. For that, you need to read the living signs. Imagine you are standing in the Kalahari 3,000 years ago. You are a sand hunter. The sun is white hot. Your water gourd is empty. You don't look for water. You look for life that cannot live without water. You watch the birds. This is one of the oldest tricks in human history. In the Kalahari, in the Sahara, in the deserts of Arizona, people knew that seed-eating birds like doves and finches must drink every single day. At dawn and dusk, they fly in a straight, fast line. They are not wandering, they are commuting. If you follow their flight line in the morning, they will lead you to water. If you follow them in the evening, they will lead you away from it. Meat-eating birds like hawks can go without water for days. Ignore them. Follow the doves. Greek historians wrote that armies lost in the desert of North Africa survived by following birds. It was common knowledge. Then there are the insects. In the deserts of the American Southwest, the ancestors of the Pueblo peoples watched bees. A bee will not travel more than a few miles from water. If you see a line of bees flying low and heavy in one direction in the afternoon, they are carrying water. Follow them. In Africa, they watch the precise swarming of mosquitoes at sunset over a dry riverbed. Mosquitoes need stagnant water to breed. Where they swarm, you dig. And if you see nothing flying at all, you look down. You look for plants. A desert is full of plants that lie. Many are dry and dead, but some are truth-tellers. The Bedouin of the Arabian desert knew this better than anyone. They knew that a patch of green reeds and a flat, salty plain meant sweet water was just a few feet below. They knew that the desert date tree with its deep, dark roots only grows where groundwater is close. In the Mojave, the presence of willows or cottonwoods is a neon sign that says, dig here. The roots of these trees have already found the water for you. You just have to follow them down. But the greatest readers of plants were perhaps the people of the far desert in India. They knew that ants build their nests on the north side of certain shrubs to avoid the sun, and that soil near those nests stays damp longer. A tiny clue, but enough. Sometimes you don't need a living sign. You need to read the earth itself. Run your hand over hot sand. It is dry, but the ancient desert peoples knew that water has a shape even when you cannot see it. In the Sahara, nomadic Tuareg elders teach their children to look for a subtle change in the sand's color, a slightly darker streak, a place where the sand clumps together instead of blowing freely. That is a memory of water. Underneath water once flowed, and the minerals it left behind still hold a trace of moisture. If you dig there even a foot or two, the sand will turn cool and dark. Even more powerful was the knowledge of stone. In rocky deserts, water doesn't soak in. It runs. After a rare rain, which might come once a year, water carves tiny channels into rock. Over centuries, these channels become invisible to an untrained eye. But the Nabateans, the masters of the Arabian desert who built the legendary city of Petra, became artists of this. Archaeologists have found thousands of tiny hand-carved grooves and dams on the cliffs around Petra, some no wider than your finger. They were not decoration. They were a massive water harvesting system. A single desert storm lasting 20 minutes could be caught by these grooves and channeled for miles into hidden covered cisterns carved deep underground where the sun could not evaporate it. One cistern could hold millions of gallons. The Romans who later tried to conquer them marched into what they thought was a waterless wasteland. They found a city of 30,000 people with gardens and fountains. The water was there all along. The Romans just didn't know how to see it. This is where the story changes, from finding water to making water appear. The most brilliant leap in human history didn't happen in a lush river valley. It happened in the desert of Persia around 3,000 years ago. On the surface, the Iranian plateau looks bone dry. No rivers, no lakes. But the ancient Persians realized something that changed everything. Far away in the distant mountains, snow was melting. That water was sinking into the ground, flowing downhill under the desert in a vast, invisible underground river. How do you get it? You cannot dig a well 50 feet deep in the middle of a desert. It would collapse and you would never find the flow. So they invented a technology so ingenious that it is still used today. They invented the qanat. It starts with a mother well dug high up at the foot of the mountain, sometimes 300 feet deep, until it hits that underground water. Then instead of lifting the water up, they bring the desert down to the water. They dig a tunnel almost perfectly flat with a slope of just 1 foot per mile, stretching for miles and miles, sometimes for 20 miles all the way to their villages. Every 30 yards, they dig a vertical shaft for air and to haul out dirt. From above, a qanat looks like a line of mysterious holes marching across the desert to nowhere. But underground, it is a river of cool, clean water flowing by gravity, protected from evaporation. It is a masterpiece of engineering built with hand tools, without pumps, without maps, using only oil lamps and a sense of sound to keep the tunnel straight. Archaeologists have mapped over 37,000 qanats still existing in Iran, some built over 2,700 years ago and still flowing. It allowed the Persian Empire to bloom in a place where no empire should exist. It was economics. It was power. Whoever controlled the qanat controlled life. And the knowledge of how to build one, the Muqani masters, was a sacred profession passed from father to son. But what if there is no mountain? What if there is no underground river? What if you are in the Atacama Desert in Chile, the driest place on Earth, where it might not rain for 20 years? Ancient humans there found water in the air itself. Every morning, a thick fog called Camanchaca rolls in from the cold Pacific Ocean and blankets the hills. It never rains, but the fog is full of water. The ancient peoples of this coast hung nets made of woven cactus fibers and animal hides on the ridgelines. The fog would hit the nets, condense into droplets, and drip into clay jars below. A single large net could collect hundreds of liters a day from nothing but air. When Spanish explorers arrived in the 1500s, they thought the locals had found a magical spring. They had. They just made it from fog. Today, scientists in Morocco and Chile are rebuilding these exact same nets using modern plastic based on the ancient design. The physics never changed. There is one last source, the most desperate and the most secret: dew. In the high deserts of the Negev and in Australia, the nights are freezing. Even when there is no rain, the cold rock sweats. Before sunrise, tiny droplets of dew form on stones. Ancient peoples built low circular piles of stones carefully stacked. These were not tombs or altars as early archaeologists thought. Recent experiments have proven they are dew traps. The stones cool down faster than the air at night. Dew condenses on them and drips down into a small hollow pit in the center where a few spoonfuls of water collect. Not much, but enough to keep you alive for one more day. To keep you walking until you find the next song, the next bird, the next green plant. Think about that. We think of technology as phones and satellites. For ancient humans, technology was a song that held a map, a flight path of a dove, a line of holes in the desert that brought a mountain of snow to your door, a pile of cold stones that squeezed water from the sky. They did not conquer the desert. That is a modern fantasy. No one conquers a desert. They listen to it. They learned its language. So the next time you turn on a tap and water just appears, remember this. For most of human existence, water was not a right. It was a mystery to be solved. A hidden treasure. And the fact that you are here, that your ancestors survived, means that at some point someone in your bloodline, somewhere in a dry and desperate place, knew how to read that invisible text and find it. That knowledge is still in you, buried deep, waiting to be remembered.